Hello and welcome to Brilliance Today, where individuals let their brilliance shine through their stories, expertise and philosophy, because they're on a mission to make a difference and leave a legacy. Introducing Brenda Dempsey, publisher, speaker and TV presenter. Get ready to be inspired.
Hello and welcome to Brilliance Today, where we are surrounded by brilliance. Brilliance is everywhere. It's inside you, it's round about you. We're looking for it. We're looking to connect it to each other to create ripples of brilliance. And today I have got a brilliant person with us who's going to share his nuggets of wisdom, his gems, to let you understand more about who he is, what makes him tick, and of course, how he can support you and I. So, good morning, good day, good evening, CP Lee. Welcome to Brilliance Today.
Right, thank you, Brenda. It's excited to be here.
Thank you very much indeed for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me and the listeners today, because we need brilliance to make us feel uplifted, warm, give us that glow, put a smile on our face, but more importantly, inspire us into action. So let's begin then. Let's start nice and easy. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right, so my name is CP. As you can see, I'm actually currently the Chief Technology and Operation Officer for Mola, which is a startup organization that comes from Indonesia. Right, our primary business is in the OTT broadcasting. We started in delivering video content to domestic users in Indonesia, but as right now we have already expanded into 4 other countries, including Singapore and Malaysia in Asia, as well as UK and Italy in Europe.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And that is the ripples of brilliance, isn't it? It's taking what you know and sharing it with the world. When you've got a vision and a mission, that drives you. So tell us a little bit more about those values that drive you. What values do you live your life with?
I think for me, primarily I'm an engineer at heart. So for me, what drives me is really just perfection. Now, everything that comes to my plate is I'll make sure I deliver it to the best of my ability, exceeding where possible. Because as I said, pride is the only thing that I have at the end of the day. Everything that I touch, everything that I work on, I want to make sure that it is really put on its best scope, best face out to all the people that is involved. And this is something that I've been consistently working through my life with, as well as anyone that I engage with, is something that also wants to ensure that people are doing the best that they can at any single instance.
I love that. You know, perfection is not a word that crosses my vocabulary because it can cause anxiety, but you actually explained it beautifully. And actually, it's being the best we can be. It's approaching everything we do with, you know, our best attitude, our best effort, because then when we come with our best, we create the best. And I love that philosophy. And I think that resonates more because, let's face it, failure is part of success, isn't it? How do you feel about failure, and what do you do when things don't quite work out as you originally planned?
I think failure is something that is very, very subjective. I mean, in our life, not everything goes in our way, right? So some things that when things go south, when things goes wrong in a certain sense, the key will actually for me is to look at it on what can be done to overcome it and to make it to a state where you feel that, yes, this is what you have set up to achieve. I think that is the key thing that for me, that has been driving what I've been doing throughout since, even from my academic days, right? As you know, Singapore, the sunny island, is famous for our academic rigorous examinations. Since young, we have been tested. being put to test in every single subject. And there are always areas like we are weak in, there are areas that we are strong in. So for those places that we didn't fare as well, I think there's two ways to look at it. One is that you just resign to the fate. Second, you just, hey, I can do better next time, and you strive towards it. And that's the route that I think that most of us should be looking at. And that drives me even until today.
I love that, CP, and that's it. I just want to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
If I didn't do good enough yesterday, I will make sure I do better today. And that's all we can do, one day at a time, be better than we were yesterday. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love this philosophy. It's really getting me quite excited. But you've worked with some of the best names in the industry. You know, Apple is certainly up there. But as a focused high achiever, what we've kind of touched on this. Not only what drives you to continuously succeed, but how do these accomplishments, how does the success, the accomplishments, how does it shape you further?
I think, as they always mention, is in a way success begets success, right? From the very first time that you taste recognition, you taste success, you tend to want to do it more and do it better, because that just drives the way forward from what I feel. So everything that I mentioned, everything I do comes from the fact that I just want to make sure that it is done properly and people benefits from it. And that's what I meant by doing the best, because our lives is not just about ourselves, it's about the people that we engage with. But ensuring that everything that we plan towards those that we serve, whether it's my customers or my partners, or even my business vendors, right? Everyone we in the world, we interact with each other in a very to and fro way. It's a two-way traffic. And this is something that I feel is that when I serve with authenticity, I will get back that kind of, in short of better word, a karma. That the good will come back when I actually project goodness.
Yeah. And I love you know, I'm going to pick up on two things there, mainly because, you know, we're speaking the same language, you're touching my soul, and one of them was about reflecting on what you do, and how you use that to move forward. But so for me, I was trained as a teacher like 30 years or so ago, and I was trained as a reflective practitioner, and these things absolutely set you on a really solid foundation, because reflection is part of emotional intelligence. It's that inward looking introspection. What can I do better? But then how do you project it further? So there's reflection. The other point I wanted to touch on, you said success begets success. Absolutely. And for me, what sprung into mind was the compound effect, whether it's positive or negative. So the more you eat and drink the wrong types of food and drink, you know, that has consequences that are negative. You put on weight, you get lazy, you get all these things, you're unfit. But whereas if you eat healthily, take exercise, you just get fitter and stronger. So the compound effect, do you believe then that the compound effect is something, whether consciously or subconsciously, you actually use to your benefit?
Actually, you strike a very, very raw nerve there, because I've always believed in this concept, which we call the secret, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So it is something that whatever you project out into the universe, it'll come back to you. So in other words, it's like the butterfly effect in that sense. So since my younger days, after I actually got into in touch with this thing that called the secret, that I've always been pushing myself, you know, to change the way of thinking, to keep on projecting positive wavelengths out. And over time you find that this actually helps you to guide you in your next course of action, because you just keep on wanting to achieve, you keep on wanting to do the things correctly, right? So from that aspect, yeah, that's what we meant by the compound effect, because it just compound things over and over again and keeps on adding to it. So ever since I'm in the workforce, it is something that I have put and pride myself is that whatever I put a project, a task in mind to complete, I make sure that it is actually done in its most pristine outcome. Okay, we might not reach that 100% perfection, but we get as close to it as possible. But that also means that in the next revision of something that's similar, you'll find that it becomes a foundation of you to do even better. And that's what strives me forward every single step of my career.
I definitely see that thread. And you know, as I was reading through your article, and certainly, you know, the law of attraction jumped out at me as well. And you've preempted that. I was going to ask you more about the law of attraction.
Yes.
Because the more and more I interview leaders of your caliber, the more and more the same thread is coming through. So there's got to be something in that, right? High achievers, you know, gratitude, law of attraction, doing their best, striving, emotional intelligence. It's almost like we're finding the secret to success. But we know we're all unique and we're all different. So we come at it from a slightly different angle, because we're bringing along with us all our learning, our expertise and life lessons, academic lessons, everything that makes us who we are today. Now, one of the things that comes up in your article is change. So I know, as an educator, as a publisher, as a coach, change is that monumental state people have to make. For some people, they embrace it and others don't. And I do believe you embrace change. But what advice would you give to the listeners around what does it take to embrace change? Who do you need to become in order to not fear change, but to embrace it?
I think that's actually a very interesting way to put it, because change is always feared. I wouldn't say when there are changes, there are so many things that you will fear, that you will go in the directions that you do not like it. But it is just about taking it by its horn, right? We can feel it, but we don't need to run away from it. I think that's the key. Right. So as the saying goes, change is the only constant. Right. In fact, when we fear change and we try to run away from change, we are literally changing as well. So that's something that I realize that, hey, if that's the case, just go forward, take the best risk approach that you can get. Right. Minimize damage. Try to take advantage of any situation for you to make the change to your benefit, as well as to a positive mode. And with that in mind, you'll find that over time, your ability to manage that change gets better. It's just the same as taking risks. At first, you take small risks. Over time, because of the way that you have been educating yourself to take those, you'll find that your risk appetite also increase. It's all just taking the first step. And then from there, you just keep on going from walking to jogging to running. It just comes very nicely.
And of course, to quantum leaping, I don't know, I love a bit of quantum, you know, in our approach. So a lot of this is to do with mindset. You've already touched on the law of attraction, and change often creates transformation within ourselves. Because until we work on ourselves, we're not going to change very much. So therefore, how would you describe the difference between change and transformation, and how has it applied to your life?
I think if you really want to segment between change and transformation, to me the key difference is the magnitude. A change is something that is sequential, something that is a bite size in slightly smaller component, whereas transformation is change in a bigger magnitude. And this is actually where most people fear, because when you transform, you really make an extremely big change, right? But again, as I mentioned, and you start to embrace change, in no time, transformation will come, because your bite-sized changes will start getting bigger until the fact that it becomes at a value that it just becomes a transform process.
Yes.
And all the while for me is transformation or change is important in life, because the world changed, right? Last year, with the pandemic happening, nobody knows when we are coming out of it. This year, everybody is embracing the epidemic into a pandemic, and things are moving forward. Travels are back, people are facing face-to-face. 4 years ago, nobody would expect that the world shuts down because of the pandemic of COVID.
Yeah.
Again, these are all the changes that is happening around us. And for us to take it and move along with it, it becomes the I would say the stronghold, as well as the key element for human to really move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I love, you describe yourself as a dreamer and you call yourself a gamer. How does gaming impact us in a way that drives us forward and elevates us even further towards that greater transformation?
Yeah, I think gaming is actually one of the most important element to any change management, right? Regardless of what kind of games you play, the games that you actually get engaged in, is all about changing, because tactics, strategies, mechanism of play changes every time. And you cannot use the same technique every time you get into even the same game. As you move across game, you really need to adapt. And that's really embraces the concept of change. And when you start changing, playing different genres of games, then you find that transformation happens again, because you need to really look at what am I doing there and how you can actually move yourself forward. So in one sense, to me, I'm someone who always likes to win as well, right? So when you play a game, you pick up, oh my God, how you can actually win that level, get up to the next level, and you keep on moving forward. And this is where you really need to embrace it. The last time I tried this, I can't do it. I cannot keep on doing the same thing to try to clear the same level, right? I need to change to make sure that I win that level and move forward.
I know you've got simple, I mean, how big a craze has Candy Crush been? You know, it's a simple game. It's not maybe, although there will be some form of strategy in it, just like chess has, and you know, like a lot of these games are. I love that. I love that explanation that you just gave us there, CP, you know, about adaptation, about strategy. And these are all the things that we need as CEOs, business owners, leaders. We need flexibility, adaptability. We need to take responsibility. But if we don't come to it with awakened awareness, then we can sleep right through something that would give more meaning to our life. So I just love that, and I'm going to change my own sort of. I do like gaming myself, and I have got to win, and I've got to do better myself. You know, so my competition is with myself rather than in a competitive market or arena. So yeah, I'm going to be listening back to this and noting down all those things that you said, because I think that is absolute key. And we need to, and I think, sorry, I know I'm talking a bit much and you're meant to be talking, but I think we need to get that message out there, because I was a parent of 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and my sons, oh my God, they're gaming, their thumbs are well, like,
yes, I understand.
And you know, and quite often people get off that computer, but if we can split the coin and see gaming as something positive. And we have, you know, your insight and the way that you look at it. You know, I think parents and a lot of people you would change their mindset. So you would create change within them. So therefore you would see the good in it and how it's going to help their kids in the future. You know, so actually I bet you that would be a good study, a good academic study, to look at kids who play gaming and what their academic prowess or managerial prowess as entrepreneurs is. I think that would I think that's very good there, CP. Maybe you can think about that a bit more, you know. And I loved a quote that you gave us from excuse me if I get the pronunciation wrong, but Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, from nothing to something, from something to everyone. I have got goosebumps. I can feel the emotion rise within me, because to me, that is so inspirational, to inspire me to be better and to serve more and to be purposeful and find that meaning. How do you absorb those words? I'll say them again. From nothing to something, from something to everything.
Yeah, I think that embodies literally the Singapore spirit, right? Singapore started, if you look at the history, we were booted out in a way from a federation, and we went through a very, very difficult stage. That's what embraces the word I use is from nothing to something, because it took the country quite a tremendous amount of time to get to a state where it is recognizable. It has systems in place and get things running. And today, I'm always very proud to say I'm a Singaporean, because the branding of Singapore in the world is tremendous, right? And that is what I mean by to everything, because today when we move out as a Singaporeans, we literally are so proud that it says, I'm from Singapore. You can sense that pride when we say that. And this actually really resonates with myself, because coming from a very simple family, I wouldn't say it's nothing, but it is a very simple, humble, small family in Singapore. I studied in the neighborhood school, and we basically progressed throughout the education system as one of the many Singapore kids. But opportunity is always given to everyone who are ready to take it. And this embraces what I think is that it's from nothing to something, because it is there. And if we really pick it up and move forward, you'll find that the progression happens. And that is when the something actually starts to move and something starts to gather the momentum. And as we start to have all those momentums and the pulse moving forward, the world is our oyster, right? As a true blue Singaporean, I literally can go anywhere in the world. I speak English, I speak Chinese Mandarin, I can speak a lot of dialects. I can literally prompt myself. I'm not a master in the language, but it's enough to communicate, to make people understand what we are looking at. And I think that embraces the everything concept, because we are able to adapt. And the fact that we are right in the middle of the world, we are the crossroad of the East and the West, that puts us in a very interesting position for us to tap into what we can provide, right? We can give the value to almost anyone in the market today. And this is what I really appreciate, what Mr. Lee has done throughout his journey to give our generation this opportunity to really, really start to appear and to shine in the world market.
I love that. I love that. And that's why you're brilliant. And, you know, brilliance is all about shining that greatness from within so that others can see, and you can lead with that beacon of light, as I call it, you know. So I've been to Singapore myself on, I think, 2 occasions now. And, you know, what stands out for me is just, it's the attention to detail. You know, you go to the underground. Wow, what an experience. It is absolutely amazing. It's clean. Oops, it's clean. It's just, it's fantastic. And you've got the happy voice. And so you've just got that whole spirit of what Singapore is all about. It's embracing, you know, it's just, for me, it's a wonderful, wonderful place, friendly, and, you know, I certainly want to get back to Singapore around my business as well, not just visit as a tourist. But, you know, yes, I love Singapore. And as you come into land, you know what I'm going to say? You know, you're talking about you can get things all over the world. There's the tankers, isn't there? You know, and of course the beautiful gardens, and you know, so it's a world leader. You know, certainly Singapore is a world leader, small but mighty, small but mighty, and it's just wonderful. So tell us, you're a busy man, you're always striving to be the best you can be, but what do you actually do to relax?
Well, that's tough.
I know, as a leader, I know. Do more work.
I think for me, it's really, it changes over time, but I prefer to read, actually. Reading and gaming is the two key things that I really turn to break away from things. As I mentioned, in terms of game, it really detaches you from the real world in a superficial way, but whatever you do can also be then reflected back into how you can work in the real practical world as well. Reading, of course, to me is something that it's twofold. One, it actually calms the mind down, because as your brain, your eyes are focused into the book. And I like physical books. I'm not one of those who like electronic, because I find that it's just different. Holding the book, having the paper feel, and you have flipping it is very different from reading electronic tablet, right?
Yeah.
That feels of concentration in the book. Again, it brings you out from your real life, or rather your day-to-day life, and you just get sucked into that mode. In fact, I like to read two types of books. One, which is actually fantasy, because it brings you into a world that you have never had the chance to be at all. Right? Second, I like to read things that are more philosophical, because reading about how people think gives you insight into what can, what cannot, what should be, what should not. It gives that kind of balance. So this is something that I keep trying to force myself, or as much as I can, to pick up books and then read them in my flights, when I'm overseas, whenever I have the time. Then, as I mentioned, gaming is because the good part about today's world is with the mobile phones, you can even game on the move.
Exactly.
Yes. So this really changes the whole paradigm for me, because in the past, when you want to game, you have to go and find a computer, sit down, and you spend the time playing on it, and you really, really get started. But now it's that anytime you're on the move, you have 15 minutes, start a game, and you focus on just winning it, and then you just get back to your life and continue with what you need to be done.
Yeah, I love that, actually, because, you know, you're probably well aware that we should have regular breaks, you know, 5-10 minutes away from a screen time or whatever. I know if you're playing gaming, but whatever, you know, I am on a computer all day long, and touch wood, I mean, it doesn't seem to bother me at all. But yeah, you do have to get up and move for your body and things like that. And sometimes it's your mind. If you get to a place where there's maybe too much pressure, or you know, you can't quite work something out, taking yourself right away from it, doing whatever it is that you love, you know, playing an instrument, walking, gaming, whatever, is enough to give your mind that break it needs. And actually, I don't know about you, but quite often in those moments, you get the aha, because you might do something, you go, oh, that's what it is I need to do. So nothing's ever wasted, you know, even if you're doing nothing, something happens, because you're allowing your mind just to drift off to where it needs to go. Wow, I could talk to you all day. There's loads of questions I still have, but I think we're coming to the end of our chat here. So I always like to give my guest the last word, more or less. And So what would you like to share with the listeners, with the audience, in a way that would help them in their life become the best version of themselves?
I think the most important for me would actually be something that I actually live by is be authentic, right? And be real. Be authentic, not just to yourself, to the people around it, and be real to yourself. And that's what you can drive forward. And with that too, everything else can fall in place.
Absolutely. Authenticity. You know, you can tell from my accent, I'm Scottish, and I talk about being raw and real and walking your talk. You know, you can't teach anybody anything that you've not experienced yourself, not in a deep transformational way. You know, so if I do something in my business and I'm talking to someone about business development, if I'm not doing it and achieving, I'm not teaching it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's about teaching those successes. And as you said in your words, success begets success.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is through being authentic, being raw and real, being true to yourself. You know, values are what drives us. I thought we were finishing, but obviously you've got me on my pedestal here. You know, it's those values. So integrity for me is everything. Yes. And that means being raw and real. You know, if I don't know, I don't know. If I make a mistake, oh, excuse me, I've made a mistake, I apologize. I'll go and I'll rectify it and I'll do better next time. You know, but people fear that vulnerability. That probably takes me on to one more question. See what I mean, CP? You're so so inspiring here. So vulnerability then. Do you see vulnerability as a strength in leadership?
I think vulnerability is something that we just cannot run away, right? And as not just leadership, anyone in the world, we do have to recognize where we are vulnerable, and we do actually acknowledge it, because, I mean, there's no real Iron Man in that sense, right? Even in the Marvel series, Iron Man also has his weakness, right?
Yes.
It's recognizing where you are vulnerable that makes you even better, right? The other flip side is some people will take vulnerability and maximize from it, but I'm not in that school. I'm in the school is that recognize the vulnerability, move towards it, and make yourself better. Not trying to maximize and getting people's sympathy.
No.
Yeah.
For me, being vulnerable as a leader is to show our human side. Is to show these things happen to we're all human. Sometimes people think you've got superhuman powers, but you haven't. You've just gone on the inner journey. You've gone on the inner journey to understand yourself. And when you do that, and this is what's coming through to me in this particular series of interviews, with no exception, the same message is coming through. Be authentic, be the best you can be. You know, mindset, all the things that we've discussed today, the law of attraction is massive, you know, getting into that spiritual side of who we are. So CP, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Thank you very much for being vulnerable and sharing all those insights. And I'm sure I'm coming back to listen. I know I've been interviewing you, but I've got to come back and listen and really take note when we put this together. And I wish you all the best for the future, and of course we will be keeping in touch. So
thank you very much.
You're welcome. So this is Brenda saying be brilliant, much love, and toodle pip until the next episode of Brilliance Today.
That's it for this episode of Brilliance Today. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For more information or to contact Book Brilliance Publishing, visit bookbrilliancepublishing.com. And remember, do different. Be brilliant.